Welcome to the High Performance Herd. Today, we're very fortunate to have John Oswald with us. John is the president and CEO of Mills Manufacturing. John, welcome.
Thank you.
So I always start kind of these conversations with business leader, owner, CEO with what drew you to leadership? What was kind of the early genesis of I want to become a leader?
I think that's always a difficult question, and I can't really. It's hard to pinpoint like any one thing, and I think, as I shared before, I don't know that I necessarily sought out and said I want to become a leader, but I think there were just different events or different things that kind of happened that were kind of like felt the responsibility and like, oh, this is what I should do. This is who I am. You have a responsibility to kind of step up and play a role. And the earliest kind of went back to gosh, I think I I only thought about this recently, but was 11 or 12 years old and playing on a little youth hockey team, and all my fellow the teammate, they voted on a captain, and they voted me and this other good friend of mine as captains. And I was just like, I never saw myself as that. And then kind of went through and then had the same role in college, and that was playing sports. But then I was also in a fraternity, and then just kind of assumed naturally a leadership role there. And I know those are kind of early on things, but then you go and you get into your career. And I never necessarily sought out and said, I want to be a leader, but I would definitely look to individuals. My first career was with State Farm, Fortune 500 company. I would definitely look to leaders and individuals as mentors and just kind of grad or gravitated towards them, listened to them, wanted to learn from them. And it just kind of, I think, kind of evolved from there. So I wouldn't say I set out and said, I want to be a leader. It was just more of an evolution.
But clearly, in all of those examples, John, there's something evident that says, hey, one, I'm viewed that way, and two, capable. Otherwise, people wouldn't view you that way. And have you reflected any on that? Like, well, what's that origin? What is the essence of my leadership? What creates that? Have you done any exploration there?
I mean, I can get really personal and um just, growing up in our household, single mother, and she, as a single parent of four, went out and started her own business. And then the four of us, and we were very young, all had to kind of look out for each other and take care of each other. And that was just kind of a natural um, thing, and look out for our mother. Um, I think that's probably another part of those early stages. And that was about the same time that, I was, voted on by my teammates to be one of the co-captains of this hockey team. So I think all of those things play a role in that. And then when you get in those roles and you feel that responsibility, and then you feel the responsibility to speak and stand up, and then people listen and respond, and then you listen to them and respond, and you kind of lift people up and grow together. I think that's at least what it is, or what it's been for me.
Awesome. And just curious, where are you in the birth order of your siblings?
I'm the oldest.
Yeah, that's when you were telling the story, I'm the oldest, and I have a similar, not a single mom, but my parents both worked. My mom was a high school principal, eventually superintendent, and yeah, we were. I only had two brothers, but I was the oldest of three, and we were home all the time. But both good, bad, mischief. I mean, everything that happens there.
Yeah.
But we were forced to like, well, how do we cook and feed each other and help out? And so that story hit me like, oh yeah, I wonder where he is in the birth order. So
Yeah. I
um,
mean, we were doing our own laundry, when I was 10 years old, I was doing my own laundry,
yeah,
and
no, and
my
there's
brother was 8
something
and my siblings were 6. and they were
Yeah.
doing their one when they were 6. So they were a lot further advanced.
But there's something to that where we have to be independent, demonstrate, whether that's a coaching leadership role with your siblings that clearly form something in us. So you talked about State Farm. We haven't talked any about Mills, but give us kind of a short, here's my career up until Mills.
Yeah. So my mom was a State Farm agent. And so as I was growing up and, was kind of around that, and then worked in her office for a little bit. And then after college, had the opportunity, I got hired for State Farm Corporate, actually working at one of the regional offices. And it was just insurance was what I was familiar with and what I knew. And I felt like I always wanted to work for a big company. And so I had that opportunity and, yeah, started working for them. And then I felt like that's where kind of a little bit more of that like leadership thing kind of it started to come into play. And I just kind of felt that draw there a little bit. And I looked ahead and I was looking, as I said before, to some mentors and people that I looked up to and that I learned a lot from, and kind of felt, oh, I want to do that. That's where I want my career to go. And I'm in my late 20s. Um, but then as I was going on this path, I could see that some of these people that I've been looking up to had been kind of jumping ship and leaving. And so I was obviously like, okay, from where I am in this organization, there's something up there that I can't see from here. Um, and I didn't know what that was, but then it was about that same time that I got approached to come down and get involved in Mills Manufacturing. It's a family business. It's my in-laws' business. My wife and I were living in New York City. As I was kind of going through and saying, okay, maybe what I see at State Farm or what I thought I wanted at State Farm wasn't exactly for me. Um, where else do we want to go? What are the other things we want to do? And then we were just presented with this opportunity that, we weren't prepared for, didn't see it coming, thought about it for a while, and then decided to just come down and give it a shot.
So talk more about that. So opportunity presents itself. You're in New York. I think Mills is in North Carolina. That's a big change. What you've known most of your life to something unknown. We haven't talked about Mills yet, but they, manufacture parachutes and do very kind of high-end commercial sewing. So that isn't anything you learned in the insurance business. Um, so there's something in that transition that clearly you, your wife, family talked about. Help the audience understand, well, what drove that decision.
Yeah, it was. So yeah, I know insurance. I don't know anything about manufacturing. Now, my family, my dad and my grandfather were in manufacturing. So I grew up around it, but didn't spend a lot of time in it. And again, my parents got divorced, so from an early age, I wasn't spending as much time in it. My grandfather on my mother's side was also in soda manufacturing. So there's manufacturing in our family background, but I didn't have any exposure to that necessarily. Um, but I came down and looked at the business, spent a week here before we decided to come down. And again, we're looking for a change. And part of it for us was lifestyle too. We were living in New York City. Do we want to be here? Do we want to do something different? We both went to school out west in Colorado. We spent our weekends trying to get out of the city. And so when we were presented with this opportunity, a lot of it initially was based on just lifestyle and the opportunity to be and live in a new place. But we honestly, I think I might have thought, I mean, it's hard to think back that long ago, but I do share now. I said, I think we kind of thought, okay, we'll do that for 3 to 5 years. We'll give it 3, maybe 5 max. And now here I am 28 years later. But I get down and quickly what I realized, and I wanted to come in here and just learn about the business, right? And more importantly, learn about the employees and what they do. And what I quickly learned was whether I'm working in insurance, and I was an agency field consultant, so I worked with agents and their staff. And whether I'm working in insurance with individuals that are running their own business and have a significant amount of wealth, or working with people on the manufacturing floor, it's people and it's personalities. And there was there wasn't much different. Wasn't much of a difference where you would think from the outside, big difference, and it really wasn't. So you're working in insurance, you're working in manufacturing. A lot of the same things motivate people,
Yeah.
and the way you treat people and all that stuff.
So, John, I'm curious. You talked about the State Farm job. That, hey, you had to go and meet people. You had to go into their business. Talk about how that equipped you to walk into this new business. You kind of hinted at it, but I'd love to hear more.
I think when you're going into the agent's offices and meeting with their staff, um, we would train them on the computer systems, give a basic training on the computer systems, give them training on the products, give them training on office operations and office setups. And in doing that, you take the time to get to know the staff and get to know the agent. And everybody's got all these different personalities, and all these personalities are working together in these small offices. I even had it when I was working for my mom in her office. Um, and just taking the time to get to know people a little bit better and learn about them, and maybe even, what I don't want to, what their issues, challenges are, what they face, and just take time to listen. And then come into the manufacturing environment, and it was a lot of the same thing. And in both cases, it was people that I didn't know, but you wanted to know a little bit about them, and then I wanted to share a little bit about myself.
Yeah,
Eh,
awesome. I'm curious because this is my take in business now. That you go into businesses, and you might have saw this in State Farm. Hey, some of these are different. Some of these are high performing, and there's a reason why. Some of these are struggling, and there's a reason why. Did that equip you, and what did you see there? Because you got the opportunity to see a bunch of different offices, would be my guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And um, yeah, some offices were big, some offices were small. Um, and I guess it was just learning and understanding that, geez, I'm not even sure how to say this properly, but yeah, learning and understanding that everybody is different, have different motivations, and trying to understand what each individual's motivation was. And because you've got an office that might have 10 people, it'd be as large as have 10 people working in it. And then you have another office that has, maybe as few as 2 people in it. They can both be deemed and considered successful, right?
And were there any things in that early work that you said, but this is the essence of a high performing team? This is what's different about this team that's more successful, whether it was leadership, culture, something.
Oh, I don't know that I saw it then. Maybe I did see it then, but to me, a big part of leadership and success in leadership is empowerment, empowering the people that you work with, empowering your peers, empowering the people that maybe report to you. I think empowerment is huge.
Um, so you joined Mills, you moved to Asheville, I think, North Carolina, right?
Yeah, Asheville, North Carolina.
And tell me about the company when you joined. What was it like? What did you find? What did you learn early?
Well, so when I got here, my father-in-law had um, been here. I'm going to guess he'd been 20 years, maybe about 20. He'd been here 20 years, and he was in second generation. He had taken the business over from his father-in-law. And when I got here, they were in the middle of a transition and doing their succession planning. They had a lot of leadership, manufacturing leadership, um, operational leadership that was nearing retirement. So they were building a plan to transition and have some succession planning. Our, director of manufacturing was retiring. So replacing that individual, replacing an individual in purchasing, accounting. And then I came in at about that same time. So me coming into Mills and joining Mills was part of their kind of long-term succession planning. And it wasn't just me. There were other individuals that had been here a few years before I got here, but it was to try and do the best for the continuity of the business and their succession planning.
And
And
but
well, when I came in, it was the opportunity to get involved in the business and the opportunity to maybe one day lead the business, but there was no guarantees and no set thing. It's when they offered me the opportunity to come down, there were no strings attached. You come down, here's an opportunity. If you like it, great, stay. If you don't, if it's not for you, leave. Here I am 28 years later or 20. Yeah. And as I shared, it has been harder than I ever thought it would be. I've had to face things I could have never expected I would have had to face. And then at the same time, it's been a lot more rewarding than I ever thought it would be.
so
And that's not on a financial sense whatsoever. I'm not talking
yeah.
about that.
So talk about both of those extremes. Harder because and more rewarding because.
Harder because just some of the issues and challenges we've had to face. And I think from the outside, we can look at any business or any industry and say, wow, that's a really that they've got it going on. That's super easy. And you can't see the challenges of what we face day to day or week to week or month to month. Dealing with the government is incredibly complex, incredibly challenging, and dealing with the different personalities in the government, no different than dealing with any of the different personalities in business, right? But knowing and understanding, I mean, we've worked with so many of these employees in the government for so many years, but they've got their kind of constraints and their operations that they have to work within. So trying to know and understand what they have to work with so that they can know and understand and work with us. We've worked with some really, really, great people. We've also faced layoffs, decrease in demand for work, challenging personnel issues. We've dealt with immigration issues. Yeah, and I mean, just trying to maintain a safe working environment. Um, without going into any details, you face things that you never think you have to face on that side, and then you think the business is just clicking on, and then you're dealing with revenue issues and profit issues and personality issues on the team and personality clashes and how to manage that effectively. And it's not easy. And I think we absolutely do not get it right all the time.
Uh, for sure, John. And you realize, like in the rearview mirror, like, hey, all the things you've learned and experienced, and when new things come up, it informs our current situation. But you realize none of them are the same. You reference personality clash. You've talked already a little bit about clearly. Um, you're a leader who is out and about, involved, want understanding the people to empower them. When you've had those things happen at Mills, and I'll call it personality clash, culture challenge, I mean, whatever or however you want to frame it, what's kind of been your general theme or path out of it to improvement? What's kind of the way you look at that challenge?
For me, I think what I really try to do is I try to understand the individual's perspective, understand the individual's personality, understand their tendencies, right? Because we all have different personalities and tendencies, and try and understand each other. And then, I mean, I don't want to say find common ground, but because I mean, yeah, in some cases you can, but it's like, okay, why does a particular individual, you know, behave or operate that way, right? And why does another individual operate that way? So we've all done these, these Myers-Briggs and personality profiles to understand, and tendencies can work better to each other. And those things have a tremendous amount of value, right?
And
And
John, are you using those now? Any of those?
we have used them in the past. I mean, I mean, if you ask me what the different personality profiles are of all our employees, we've done all that. But I don't sit there and define, oh, he's a ETMJ or whatever, those things. But I do look at it from the surface level. It's like we've got, for instance, our engineering team. I mean, they're incredibly, incredibly detailed and incredibly, incredibly specific and incredibly diligent on top of things. And then you've got, other individuals that can talk to people all day long, but then, with some of the detail stuff and detailed reports and stuff, they're not that good at, right? But
Yeah,
then
I mean,
some of the people that are incredibly detailed with the engineering stuff, they don't want to be having an employee meeting in front of 150 people. That's not their thing. And just understanding that that's okay, and putting people where they need to be, and where their strength. Because if we had everybody that was all the same personality profile, it'd be a nightmare.
well, you reference something I do a lot with personality assessments, John, and I always talk about that. Most of us understand the golden rule: treat others how we want to be treated. And I joke and I go, well, that treats 5% of the population correctly. Instead, we need to live by something bigger called the platinum rule, which is treat others how they want to be treated. And you've already referenced that a couple times. If they're social, then we need to connect. If they're not social, we need to do less of that. And you talked about perfection, and there's a ton of things that we can look at to motivate and inspire. And I fundamentally believe that leadership is inspire people to believe in something and then take action. And the inspire piece is different for each individual. And you've already referenced that somehow there's an essence of each person that I need to understand and go, well, how do I inspire Bill? How do I inspire Tina? And those are different challenges. Yet there's a broad inspiration required. Um, from a rewarding standpoint, you didn't really hit that. So I'm curious to know what's been more rewarding than you would have guessed.
But when it works, um, when, I mean, the first time I ever had to do a layoff, which was brutal. I mean, I came into this business, like, obviously naive, like, oh yeah, business just runs itself. Not business runs itself. I mean, I knew it's challenging and everything, but never thought about having to face the challenge of a layoff. And then doing that, and then having the employees that have been with us for a long time, and having to lay them off, and then having them come to you and say, thank you for doing everything you could and can for us. Right. And people seeing and knowing that you're there working for them and trying to help them and support them. Um, and that just kind of gives you the motivation to just like keep going. Cause I really, we work for each other. Right. And in my role, I think a lot of people, they, like, oh, we work for you. It's like, no, we work for each other. I work for you. Um, I can't do my job without you. And yeah, you can't do your job without me. And that's just, I am doing different things that I'm responsible for, and you're doing different things you're responsible for. And I can't do those. I need you to do those. Um, but it's the, just the team that we've built here, and the culture and the long-term employees that we have here, the retention that we have here, the reputation that we have in the industry, from our customer, all those things are incredibly, incredibly rewarding.
So talk a little bit about that. The essence of Mills, kind of the general culture. how people in it would describe it, how you feel about it. Just give us kind of the culture 101 at Mills.
Yeah, culture, we're incredibly diverse. We have a large immigrant population here. We are a third native U.S. citizen. We are a third Eastern European and a third Hispanic generally. And that's the makeup of what our community is. And that's because we're looking for individuals that have the aptitude and the technical skills to learn how to sew. And so we've got to look across a wide section of individuals to find people that aptitude and want to do that stuff, want to do this technical sewing work. And in doing so, we've tapped into those different communities. We speak 5 languages here. And we have long-term Eastern European employees, long-term Hispanic employees, and long-term native U.S. citizen employees. And we have employees from these groups at all levels of the organization. They're in supervision, they're in engineering, they're in quality control, they're in human resources. And a majority of them started as a sewing machine operator, entry-level sewing machine operator or entry-level inspector, and have worked their way up and worked their way around. And the respect that they have for each other and the way that we treat each other and learn about each other and, celebrate where we came from and our cultures, that means a lot. And so we
Yeah,
have a
awesome.
really, really good retention rate, really good workforce. We take care of people as best we can. I don't, everybody's like, oh, it's like a family. It's like a family. And I don't describe it as that way. It's just we're a business. We're a group of people with our mission is building products that bring our troops safely to the ground 100% of the time. And we are a group of people aligned in that mission, working to support each other in that mission.
Awesome. And I think that's, again, this is the inspire to believe. That's what we're after. That's what we're doing. I also often talk about, well, after that comes how do we want people to act and behave? Um, is there a explicit core value set? Is there a, hey, this is how we act and behave at Mills? What drives that? Like, how do we show up to work every day?
Yeah, we've got our mission statement, as I said, and then we've got our core values. We've got 6 core values. We post them on the board. We have them on our ID badges. But then we talk about them regularly. And when we hire people, and then so we've got our values and we've got our associated behaviors where we describe this is who we are, this is the type of company we are, and this is how we treat each other. This is how we work together and take care of each other and look out for each other. And when the employees are hired, about once a month, I meet with all of the recent new hires, meet personally, and I go through our mission and values with them so they hear it from me first. But then we find ways throughout the day or throughout the week to try and continue to introduce those things and keep them in front of people so that we continue to live them. We don't just put them up on a board, or we don't want to just put them up on a board and then forget about them. We try and continue to bring them up and keep them in front of us.
I'm curious. I always talk about it should be hire, coach, and fire. Is there evidence of that in your organization that those core values, your mission, help you hire, coach, and fire? All 3 of those?
I've never really thought of it that way. So um, I don't think of it that way.
All right.
Hire, coach, and fire.
Yeah, and to me, it's I used to hire and say, hey, we believe these core values here. I go, it's like Sesame Street. All of us are like each other. And I go, if you're not this, like if you're not willing to work hard, and I had one in my early company, willing to sweep floors, and it was everyone here should be willing to sweep floors, do whatever it takes to be successful. And I go, including sweep the floors. We were 22 people. I'm like, we're all going to do everything. And if you're one of those people, not like the others, where you show up and think that's beneath you, I go, you won't fit in here. and that we'll coach you, we'll give you feedback, like, I need you to be this, but one day, if you're still rolling your eyes when we ask you to do something, you're not a fit, and we'll ask you to leave. That was my own approach to it. Like, no, they're alive and well. That they are here every day, and it sounds like they are for you.
Yeah, they are. And you come into an organization, and when I go through the vision and values with everybody, they can see right away that we're a diverse organization, multiple language spoken in here. And if that's something that you celebrate and you can support and be a part of, you're welcome here. If that is something that makes you uncomfortable or you don't like that, then this is not the place for you.
John, I talk about it. Compel, repel is awesome. Like the more compelling we are, that people are drawn to it, will come to us. People that are repelled will not want to, and then that strengthens us.
And I'll even say, I've heard from other organizations, sometimes, you go through a very, very tight labor market, and sometimes it's difficult to hire. And just based on what's going on in the labor market, we have done a lot with the immigrant workforce, and then also with our native US citizen workforce, and the way that they all work together. And, I've heard other leaders say, well, this particular workforce is really good, or this particular workforce is really good, but you just can't have them work together because they don't get along. I'm like, that is not our experience at all. They might say, oh, you got to have all of one particular group in one department, and we don't do that at all. We do not assign people based on, we don't put people in a different department or production cell based on the language that they speak or anything. Everybody's together. Do we have communication challenges? Absolutely. Do we let that keep us from doing what we need to do? No, we work through that. We use Google Translate. We bring in translators. Um, we work through that. But a majority of the people we hire are employee referrals. That's our best and strongest source of employees. And if that's our best and we're doing something right.
Yeah. Well, and I'm wondering, when you were talking about the five languages and all working together, I'm wondering if there's also a component of, well, I'm willing to learn and grow, because that's part of that, right? Like, oh, I can learn one of these other languages. I can start to assimilate. I can learn to use Google Translate. I can learn to. It's instead, many organizations are like, no, I know how, and I do it this way. Is that part of it?
Absolutely. I mean, we have, employees out on the plant floor that are trying to learn each other's languages. Um, we also have, they'll do baby showers for each other. They'll see each other outside of work for special events. Um, uh, and then we also do a ESL class here on Friday. Literacy Together is a local group um, that advocates for literacy in our community, and ESL is one of the things that they do. And they've been for about maybe it's even been 3 years now. They've held ESL classes here on Fridays, and it's completely voluntary. We've had as many as 40 people in it. I don't know what our numbers are now, um, but we give people the opportunity to participate in those, free of
Awesome.
charge. It's on their time, but free of charge. We do it Friday during the day.
Awesome. Um, so talk about what's happened with the business, growth, scale, revenue, profit, whatever you're comfortable talking about. Just give us kind of the, hey, during my time, here's what's happened.
Yeah, during my time, and then during my predecessor's time, and then during his predecessor's time, our business has just been a lot of, goes up, some really good years and then down years. The last several years, through 2014 to 2019, demand in our market has been very, very thin. We've lost a lot of competitors in our market, and there really hasn't been a lot of work. So we've kind of scraped by, and it's been pretty tough. And then 2019, we were awarded two large contracts two of our largest contracts in company history for two main parachutes, and we share them with a competitor of ours who we also have a very, very good relationship with. But as we were ramping up on those, getting ready to ramp up on those contracts and hire workforce and grow and get ready for these long-term contracts, that happened right at the beginning of COVID. So as we're sitting here getting prepared to dig out of this hole that we've been in for the previous years, now we're having to deal with and manage COVID at the same time. And so, as you know, growing the workforce, hiring during that was tough. Now we were deemed critical. We were deemed essential, meaning we were expected to maintain work and keep going production. And I don't know how you know, what did we call companies? Essential? Is that what we used
Yes,
back
I
then?
think that was the term. Yeah.
Yeah, you're deemed essential, right? So you were permitted to work during COVID. How do you call any company not essential? Everybody, we are all essential. I don't. So that anyway, that's an aside. But so managing through COVID and trying to get our wheels up and rolling through COVID. So it took us a lot longer to get our head above water than what we had projected. Now here we are 6 years later. We've just recently been awarded some cargo chutes. These other long running contracts, we're kind of getting on the tail end of those. We've been awarded some new cargo chutes that we're getting ramped up on. But we're having some challenges with the drawings, and the engineering drawings are incomplete. So there's been delays on the government side of getting us approved to go into full rate production. So I've got our staff here and our workforce here, and we're ready. We've got all of our material here, but we're dealing with those challenges of not being able to fully produce and ship.
So, John, just for the audience, cargo chute is used for what type of thing?
Yeah, so cargo chutes are used for heavy airdrop. We're dropping food, supplies, equipment, Jeeps, in some case, Humvees, tanks out of the back of the aircraft.
Awesome. Um, so, most people when they think parachute are thinking of small one man, and these are, I assume, immense.
Yeah, so the personnel chutes that we make, anywhere from 30 to 38 feet in diameter. These are, up to 100 feet in diameter.
So,
And
Um, so business today sounds like healthy again. Would you frame it that way, or
I
you
would,
go, yeah, still it's
well,
challenges?
no, well, I mean, yeah, it's absolutely got its challenges, but we have the demand. We've got the work right now, and now the challenge is executing on that. Um, making sure we maintain our workforce, making sure we're um, able to grow, making sure that we are able to motivate and properly reward our workforce. Um, make sure, we keep raw material costs in check. All of the things that, um, businesses, have to manage, making sure we're up with all the different compliance regulations that we're required to comply with.
From a look back from today, what are you most proud of the business?
Oh, I'm most proud of for sure, I'm most proud of the workforce we built and the culture that we have here. Absolutely. So we're in Asheville, North Carolina. A year and a half ago, we had Hurricane Helene come through and devastate our community. And we had no communication with our employees for 9 days. Our plant, fortunately, was not damaged, but we had no power and we had no water. And we did the best we could and we were very fortunate because a lot of businesses were just totally wiped out. And we've got people that live all over the community and all over the region, really. And we did our best to get word to people once we got power back to the plant, which was about 9 days after the storm. We got word to people say, hey, everybody come to work. I believe it was a Wednesday at 9:00. And we just want to check in on everybody, see how everybody's doing, see if anybody needs anything. And then based on that, we will talk about our plan going forward for if we're able to get back to work, when we can go back to work. At the time, we had 150 employees, and that I walked out on the floor for a planned 9 o'clock meeting. I was hoping we had 40 people. Didn't know who we'd get to. I mean, we still had roads closed. I walked out on the floor to about 130 people looking at me. And I just looked at them and they looked at me. I just lost it.
Yeah.
And all those people showed up for each other. And then we said, we talked about it and said, you guys ready to get back to work? And said, yes. And I said, okay. Well, because they need money, right? So, okay. And our normal work schedule is 6:30 to 5, 4 days a week. I said, as we're dealing with all this stuff in our personal lives, we're going to start work tomorrow. And I think I said 8 o'clock. And so we're going to work from 8 to 3, compressed schedule, just to give you guys opportunity to get back in here, but you still got stuff that you got to take care of. So that first morning of work, we had 148 of our 150 employees show up to work. And that, what am I most proud of? I'm proud of the culture that we built here that creates that, because they showed up for each other. That's what I'm most proud of.
Awesome. If you look at your role today as CEO, how would you describe it? Like, how do you spend your time? What's your role?
So I think over the last several years, it's kind of been managing through a lot of these challenging times and helping keep the vision and then set the direction. And, we do a robust strategic planning process where we try and keep things out in front of us, but trying to still stay with that vision and lead that, but then also, you get involved in some of the tactical stuff that we're dealing with. But recently, for the first time, we've just created a independent board of directors. And we are just finished I think it's our first year with this independent board of directors. We did a nationwide search. So now our board is consisted of 3 shareholders and then 3 independent directors. And then we have an outside facilitator that's been helping us as we've been getting this going. So now my role here is evolving a little bit. So now I'm able to, because we've got the leadership team is set, I've got this independent board now. Now my role is really more evolving a lot more into the strategic and the
Awesome.
vision, and to help set that and then make sure that we have the things in place to be able to achieve that vision. We've just defined shareholder objectives, presented those to the board. I presented those to the leadership team recently, and it's aligned with what our strategic plan already was. And so, I have the pleasure of doing the work to try and carry out and execute that vision. And I love that.
And in the, I'll call it strategic work, are you using any framework, EOS, scaling up, something like that? Is this third-party consultant helping you with that? You were already doing strategic planning. What's the origin of all that?
Well, when you say the origin of that, we've been doing the strategic planning for a while. We do have a consultant that we work with, Strategic Insight Partners. And where I find the value in that is having a third party help facilitate that. It takes me out of, it gives us all that perspective, right? If I'm sitting there leading and facilitating that as part of the leadership team and as CEO, I'm not going to ask myself the tough questions. They might not ask me the tough questions, but having that outside facilitator really frees us all up to kind of do the work and the harder work. And then they have a software. We've just switched over to a new software called ProfiCo. We were on another system before, but that's where we have our strategic plan loaded in there. We have our KPIs in there, but then it's built out where it's got our all of our initiatives in there and our our plans, and then we check in every week, and everybody's got full visibility to what's going on, and that helps us prioritize.
Yeah, John, talk a little bit about that because I think in scale, a lot of organizations miss what you just went through. Like they don't do it. And the clarity, accountability, visibility, and what I call doing the work allows what you've talked about to happen. And many like will skip past that, but clearly you lived pre this and now, and talk about the work, the difference, what that has meant to Mills.
With you're talking about how we do the strategic planning and how we keep
Yeah,
up and keep that in front of
yeah,
us. Yeah, it's putting that up there, and then having that documented, and then having our build outs. So build outs is like, okay, if we have an initiative, it's like, okay, what are the action items that support that initiative, and what KPI are they tied to? So that's visible. But what that is an attempt to do, and it's still challenging, right? But it's an attempt to help us set the priorities, because if engineering's got their initiative and operations has their initiative, well, sometimes the resources to accomplish that initiative are shared. And so when we have those things in front of us, then we can collectively make the decision, okay, this is our priority right now. These are the resources I need. And it helps with communication, knock down on frustration. And I say it helps, that still exists.
Y-
It's not, it absolutely exists, but it gives us more visibility and the opportunity to talk about it and to
yeah,
work through some of that stuff. And every meeting we have, there's, you know, maybe not every meeting. We should probably have it in more meetings, but we get into some good discussions and have some conflicts about some frustration and things that are going on, and that's all got to do with like competing resources. Hopefully, not competing interests, but if we feel like there's a competing interest, then we talk about that because we all have the same interest in mind.
yeah. I mean, John, that's beautiful, and it becomes like we're headed towards something. That's the common interest. This is the what I want people to believe. That we're going to get every troop that uses our product to the ground 100% of the time, and that we're going to act and behave with our core values. But despite that, we still have disagreement. Like, where are the priorities? But what you described, I love, and it says, well, it's strategically aligned to our end goal. We are having healthy conflict along the way and debating which is the right direction. I go, is it north, northeast, north, northwest? Just north. What is it? And we can have those. Lencioni talks about it as healthy conflict. Without healthy conflict, we can't have commitment. And this allows the team to commit toward the vision and then hold each other accountable to results. That's all the way to the top of Lencioni's 5 dysfunction. Um, Sounds like you're doing all of that remarkably well. Um, has
Well,
there
let
been
me
an
say, we have that in front of us, and we do that. And sometimes, yeah, we do that very well. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we walk out of a meeting and there's frustration, right? But what I expect and what I hope is when we do have that, we catch ourselves, we catch each other, and then we go back and have those conversations. And it doesn't always happen, but I know we have more of an awareness of it now, and we do try and do a better job of catching ourselves. And as individuals on the team, some people are more comfortable with conflict, some people aren't.
well, and that's where I was going to go, John. Meaning, hey, you're doing this process well, not meaning you have it perfected because we never do. Um,
Right.
and that in that, my experience is I can only get there if I have a leadership team that can play there. So has that been an evolution for you? Has that changed? Have you seen a growth or evolution in your leadership team to be able to play it out?
Absolutely. And, there's been different players on the leadership team over the years, different dynamics, different personalities, different level of trust, different level of conflict. Um, and that is absolutely all evolved. Um, some of it has evolved by new people coming onto the leadership team. Some of it has evolved by people on the leadership team being willing to do the work and look at themselves and say, hey, how am I showing up for others? And one of the big things that I say, especially when we have, when frustration builds and conflict builds, instead of me looking across the table and being frustrated with somebody else for not doing something or for focusing on something that maybe I think they should be, or not being responsive to me, what I asked everybody to do is look at yourself first. It's my responsibility to look at me first. And I need to look at myself and say, how am I showing up for others? And if I do that first, that'll take care of a lot of our problems. Instead of how is, Richard, I don't have a Richard, so how is Richard, why doesn't Richard do this? Why doesn't Richard do that? Say, wait a second, what am I doing? Start
Well,
there. And we try that.
I mean, John, and I tell people this all the time. My favorite business quote of all time is Drucker, and he says, "Only three things happen naturally in organizations: friction, confusion, and underperformance. Everything else requires leadership." And the reason I love that quote so much is, if there's friction, confusion, or underperformance, it's our fault, meaning the leadership team. It's my fault. I haven't done something that has created friction, confusion, or underperformance. And we tend to, when those things happen, prior to this quote for me, go, well, it's their fault. And instead, you're like, no, it's not. It's all of us at this table. We've done something because people, and you've described your workforce, they want to come and kill it for us. They want to do awesome. We're some of the challenge. And you've described that beautifully. When you think about the next stage of growth or what needs to happen, most importantly, in the next couple of years for Mills, what is it? What kind of keeps you focused on what's most important? What is the thing or things that are most important in the next stage?
Okay. So well, there's a couple of things. I've got a key retirement for a senior engineer. And so restructuring and filling that role. And we're doing it internally, but we're going to be dividing up some of the responsibilities with some other senior people and kind of redefining the role. It's an opportunity to reorganize and reshift some of the responsibilities. So we got to do that. Make sure that they are in a position and in place. Make sure that that's structured properly. Then make sure that I'm not just giving them extra work. I'm changing their role and responsibility, and then being able to backfill, say, okay, what are the roles? What are the things that you do now that in your new role you got to give to somebody else? So that's a lot of work, and making sure that transition happens properly. We've got a tremendous amount of demand opportunity in front of us. So it's being able to execute on this upcoming demand so we can get the lion's share of it, which will do very, very good for revenue, very, very good for our P&L. So executing on that. And then it's up to me. Next step is, okay, what are the other things? Because we've just always accepted these ups and downs in our business. And now we want to have a minimum kind of revenue floor, which is about where we've been these last 2 years, which has been a lot greater than where we've been in the previous years. How do we have where we are today be our baseline and grow from there? And that means we've got to go and look potentially at other markets. But there's a lot of other things that we can do. But what are the things that we can do that fits within our core competencies? Our market that we're in now has got a lot of barriers to entry. What are some things that we can do that maybe have some of those same characteristics that we can fill a need? We're not going to go and do commercial stuff. Not going to get into, commercial items or things that maybe could be cut and sewn overseas because we just can't compete there. We're defense cut and sew, highly technical cut and sew. Are there other products that we haven't done that would be a good fit for us to do?
So 3 to 5 years from now, if you defined, hey, we've been successful, what will have happened?
Probably in 3 to 5 years, I'm looking at maybe 15%, 20% increased revenue over where we are now, profitability, consistently profitable, and then also manufacturing in other markets that we hadn't previously manufactured in before. And when I say other markets, that can still be military, but outside of the parachute market.
There's always this, I'll call it learning that we take with the amount of time we've done it. And it's always great to try to share that with the audience. And so if you look at kind of the ride that you've had at Mills and the way the organization has transformed, changed, evolved, and think about particularly the how have I gotten the most from the team, and there's a way to share that, what would you share?
Think we get the most from the team by being a part of the team and then empowering each other and being there and showing up and allowing us and each of us to make mistakes and and fall, take control, let them take control, right? Not
Yeah,
step in, not micromanage. And that's hard. I mean, the organization and business 30 years ago, business 40 years ago was a heck of a lot different, right? Everything was top down.
yeah, very autocratic. You do what I tell you. Yeah,
Yeah. And that's the way business was. And, that doesn't work the same way. Some people maybe still try and do that. That doesn't work the same way. And I am very clear when I'm meeting with employees, talking to employees, I maybe set the tone, try and set the vision, but I don't have all the answers. And all the best ideas absolutely don't come from me.
yeah. It goes back to this inspire to believe. I want people to believe something that, and I always framed it like that we're going to win, that we're going to succeed, that we're going to do what's right for each other. And I love that we all work for each other. Your kind of concept there that hit me is like, yeah, that's what this is about. We're all one great, awesome, remarkable team, and we each are needed. And you've talked about the differences in personality that's required. How do I inspire each individual? And is there anything else that you'd want to share with the audience as kind of lessons of your journey?
Not off the top of my head. I think I've kind of covered the essence of at least my thought process, right? My belief. I think maybe, another thing, I mean, you asked me if I would, participate and share, and I'll always take the opportunity to share and talk about our business. And if anybody, um, either internally or externally, I've been asked to speak a lot on some of the things that we do here at Mills, especially with the integrating the multilingual workforce. I'll always give my time and speak to them or volunteer opportunities because I get as much back from doing that as I give people. If I have the opportunity to share and people get to learn from us, from what we've done here, when I'm doing that, I learned equally as much back from them. So never hesitate to do that. Even on this call. I mean, I know I've done a lot of talking and you're asking me about, Mills, but I learn a lot and I get a lot of perspective.
Yeah.
It's valuable.
If listeners want to find more about you or Mills, where should they go?
Millsmanufacturing.com, which has got something about Mills. And I'm also on LinkedIn. But as you say that, wow, I need to update those things. But yeah, that's how you can find me and find us.
Awesome. John, I really appreciate the time today. The story was filled with nuggets of wisdom, with vulnerability, with kind of a real candor and honesty that helps people. So I greatly appreciate your time and your approach. Thank you.
Thank you. You're very welcome.